Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and I think you're used to seeing mostly flying videos from me, specifically about how to be a better pilot. And today I wanted to start up a little series on how to actually be a better infiltrator. And I'm not talking overall infiltration, I'm talking about close quarters, bolt action. If you play the Battlefield series, aggressive recon / infiltrator type of gameplay. So, this is going to be the first video, and today we're actually going to be covering the different types of shots that are going to be really important to make you successful in this role. The first shot that we're going to talk about a little bit is the Noscope. And with the Noscope, it's when you're not aiming down sights and you're just firing. Now, it's a little bit more than that, and you can see on your screen when you have a sniper rifle or any weapon, you've got a wide set of crosshairs. That kind of gives you that general idea of where your bullet's going to go. So you still want to have the center of your screen lined up to give you your best shot of landing a Noscope. That being said, there is some cone of fire, and it's pretty significant on bolt actions when you're not actually aiming down sights. So, when is this shot actually effective? Well, it's one kind of a panic shot. You're not expecting somebody to be there. You need to pull your trigger and then move right over to your secondary. Now you can see I'm much closer to the target the closer you move in. So the other time that this should really be used would be in situations where you're really close to the target and you're very unlikely to miss. Now later on in this series, I'm going to give you guys a lot more information on best practices for how you can handle this. But for the purpose of this video, I want you guys just to practice this type of shot. Now you can see in the VR from a distance, it's hard to land your shots, and that's based on that cone of fire. It's an unreliable shot at range, and sure, you're going to get a couple in a row, but you can see here, I'm not changing anything. And while I had 2 hits, I've had 3 misses. So, in order to be really effective while using the Noscope, it's something you want to be relatively close to your target on. If you're from the side or the back of the target, you should really be using a different type of shot because you're going to have the element of surprise. The only time you should really use the Noscope is if you are right up against your target and you know you're not going to miss because you're pretty much sticking the barrel right in their eye socket, or in a situation where you're surprised and you don't have time because maybe they came around a corner. So, you know, the other alternative is, yes, you can do a Noscope if you're sneaking up on somebody and you can get right up behind them, pull the trigger, just be ready to knife or something after that. But ultimately, the effectiveness of this is the, oh crap, I need to do something, versus the, this is how I want to actually engage this target. There's kind of a balance between which shot you should be using in which situation. Now, here's an example of a Noscope, and as I'm coming around the corner, I see how close I am, so I know I don't need or have time to actually zoom in, so I uncloak and fire. I get a direct hit, which gives me a lot of damage, and then I end up getting killed by a friendly, but you can see how effective that is up close. This next example is interesting because it almost mimics a Quickscope, but you'll notice I actually fire before, which is bad practice, I actually get on target. But I've got the target in the middle of my crosshairs, so I've got a good shot of hitting them, and then all of a sudden he dies. Now, the Quickscope is the second type of shot that you're actually going to need to master, and this is the one out of all of them that you probably need to be the most successful with. The reason being is the one that's going to give you the best shot of landing your target. Now, to pull off a successful Quickscope, what you need to do is you need to learn what you did with Noscopes. You need to be able to center your screen on the target. The goal then becomes you zoom in, so you're aiming down sights, and as you're aiming down sights, you make slight adjustments, left, right, up, down, to try and get your mouse actually on target. The reason this is so effective is because you're lining your shot up ahead of time, so you have that minute adjustment so you can actually hit your target, and that's going to then net you a much higher percentage of landing your shot versus actually doing the Noscope. Now, where is this most effective? This is a good practice at any range, but it's specifically kind of that mid to close range encounter. This kind of Quickscope is what's actually going to be the most effective. Again, you want to try and hit your target in the head, but especially with nano weave in the game. But ultimately, as long as you can land a torso or a headshot, and then you're going to be able to finish them off with your secondary, you're going to have a great shot at being successful with this. Overall, should be your high percentage shot. This should be the one that you're able to land almost every time, and that's why you need to be able to practice this. And this is something I encourage you to practice by running around like a madman, kind of like you can see me doing here. Now here I've got 2 examples of Quickscopes, and you can see I'm centering the target, and then when I zoom in and aim down sights, I'm only making a slight adjustment to get on target. I'm talking very minute changes here. You know, and then ultimately you need to be ready to pull out your secondary on any shot. Now here's another example where there's two back to back, and you'll see I come around the corner, I'm cloaked, I'm able to zoom in on target, adjust my shot, and fire. The same thing with the follow-up shot for the next person. I know I'm close to being able to hit them, but it's just a slight movement to get on target, and you pull the trigger. Now the last type of shot I want to cover is called a drag shot. Now, a drag shot essentially means is that you're dragging your mouse or cursor across the screen and you're firing right when you're crossing over the target. Now, the reason this is effective is because it's really helpful against moving targets. Getting a quick scope in close quarters when somebody's moving around like a madman is going to be very hard for you to just get on target and make your shot. So to pull off a successful drag shot, what you see me doing is a great way to actually practice it. Just put a bullet in the wall, and you can see I'm missing a lot of these. But I'm higher success with this against moving targets, and I think you'll find yours is the same way. Ultimately, what you want to do is you want to fire the second your crosshair covers your target. Now, this is tough because targets can be moving left, up, they could be going downstairs, they could be going down, I mean, whatever. I mean, they could go any number of directions. So the key is really practice and getting that rhythm and flow down. For me, I kind of anticipate what direction the target's going to be moving and move my cursor. Now, some people prefer to drag their mouse into the target, some people prefer to drag theirs away from the target. I tend to follow my target and fire when I cross over them, and that's what I think works best for me. That being said, depending on how close you are, you may not be able to make that determination. You may just have to react, and that's what's going to happen in most situations. So the key is to practice this so you can get the timing down. Probably one of the better ways to do this would be one-on-one with somebody else in either the VR, maybe the warp gate, where you can see flinches and all that sort of stuff. I wouldn't necessarily encourage you doing this outside of the warp gate just because if you get a headshot, they're pretty much going to die. So, drag shot again, probably the most effective and most important to really get down in close quarters combat. So, again though, this is the one that takes the most practice. So, again, dragging your mouse. I'll talk about sensitivities and stuff in the next video. Ultimately, for me, it's just whatever feels best for you though. So, here's a couple of examples of drag shots in action. Alright, so here we go. You can see I zoom in and I'm not on target, so you drag across the screen and pull the trigger at the right time frame. Again, here you can see I zoom in and it's more than a very minute detail to actually hit your target, so you're dragging across the screen. So in both of those examples you saw that I followed the target, and that was dictated by where I was on the map. Again, there you can see I zoom in, I was aimed several feet to the right, but you drag across. It's all about timing, but super important to get down. The last thing that I really wanted to cover today is the thing that makes Planetside 2's sniping unique, and that's the cloaking ability. Now, the most important thing to remember is while we're talking about quickscoping and noscoping and drag scopes and all these different ones, the most high percentage shot that you can take is the one where the enemy is stationary and you're stationary. So, with that in mind, still use what you're learning about quickscoping to your advantage. The less adjustments you have to make, the more likely you're going to be to land your shot. Stay cloaked. Line up your shot, uncloak, make the small adjustments that you need to, and then let the bullet fly and then recloak. You don't want to rush your shots when you don't have to, because that's when mistakes happen, people find out where you're at, and that's when you end up dying. So, that's something that kind of makes this unique and different from the other games out there like Battlefield and Call of Duty, and use that to your advantage. The cloak is one of the biggest and best tools that you have, but knowing the shot types that you can take are going to be beneficial overall in the game. Alright, so those are the three types of shots that I actually wanted to cover in this video. Ultimately, with all three of these, it's going to be about practice and remembering what situations you should be using these in. Remember, no-scope is kind of that, oh crap, there's an enemy right there, pulling the trigger type of situation. Or if you're able to get right behind somebody and you know you can finish them off with a knife. The quickscope is the one that you want to make sure that you get the best with, and the better you are with those scopes, the better you're going to be with quickscopes, because then it's all about minute details. That should be your high percentage shot where you're zooming in and just making the minute adjustment. And lastly, the drag shot is by far the most challenging one, but it's going to be the most rewarding, especially in situations where you're up close and personal with a moving target. Again, go out, practice this with a buddy, go out and practice this against the enemies. Remember, KDR doesn't matter in a game like Planetside, so just go out and have fun, practice this, get better. And then the next couple videos, we're going to talk about things like mouse sensitivities, best rifles, scopes, and all those sorts of things. So, until next time, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. I'm out.